Hello there and welcome back to Forza Horizon 5 Modern Horizons. We are in the final season and we're on for the final segment of it. We've got 20 out of the 40 points that we want for the Ford Fiesta, that we already own, but never mind, that's besides the point. And we're going to try and economise a bit here, so we've got some of the daily challenges, 2010's Rally Monster, 2010's Ferrari, any 2010's vehicle. And then we've got requirements further down the line of 2010's Extreme Track Toys for one of the seasonal championships and 2010's Japan for another one. So if we find a Japanese Extreme Track Toy or Rally Monster, actually there'd be the Extreme Tractor because that's a B700. There won't be an Extreme Rally that's B700 I don't think. So 2010's Ferrari, that's also an Extreme Track Toy, maybe? So in here we can filter by Extreme Track Toys, there we go. And then we can sort by year, 2010's. There is a Ferrari, okay, well that ticks off a couple of the requirements. Oh, and it's paint the body of any 2010's Ferrari. Okay, so we'll have to take it back to the house, or take a photo of your car in Playa Azul. So let's go to the house in Playa Azul, take a photo, and then paint it. And then we'll do the seasonal championship. Even better, let's paint it first. Unfortunately, it has a nice custom paint job at the moment, but we'll just... There's the manufacturer colours. Does this count if I do that? Yeah, it's painting the body, so that should count, right? Ferrari fashion complete. There we go, so that counted. Looks like some kind of Hornet. We are in Playa Azul. Holiday snapshot complete. Well, that's racked up a few points straight away. And time to get into the racing proper, finally. Let's get on with the seasonal championship. And race up the hill in our Ferrari. Now that we've painted it up to look like some sort of Hornet. Oh, this is such tight bends to start with. Not going to worry about getting to the front just yet. We'll wait until we've got a bit of a better opening. This is a bit of a tricky road at points. We know that they're going to cut us off on all of these lines, so we'll just kind of go more on the inside. Zoom past where we can on the inside. There we go, because we know that they tend not to cut the corners. Work our way through the field. This is a very good car, and I thought I'd actually tuned it up for speed as opposed to maneuverability, but I mean, it's a Ferrari FXX, I think, isn't it? It's a very good car. I mean, I'm racing against other very good cars, admittedly, but like, what's that ahead of us now? I don't recognize it from the rear. A lot of them do look a little bit the same from behind. They just look very aggressive. Zoom through here. And messed up that corner badly. Well, maybe we can tell what this guy is when we're this close to him. A McLaren? Maybe? Not sure. We'll find out on the finish line. He doesn't want to let me take the lead though. We're just going to muscle him out. And we're just going to cut the corner. I keep forgetting when the corners are coming up. I get too excited about being able to finally accelerate and miss the fact that, nope, there's another corner. There's always another corner. It is a hill climb after all. Let's try and get slow into the corner, accelerate through and out the other side. And I've just got a bit of a squiggly section here that you can go through at fairly high speeds, but you do have to lift off on some of these just to avoid bending it into a wall completely. I forget whether this is all-wheel or rear-wheel drive, but either way we just need to keep a little bit of a power on just to stop it washing too wide. And now we just pin it, because between these two checkpoints there's not really a corner, and we're across the line. And from one sprint to another, running up a mountain, we're now pounding through a jungle. And that's a little bit too glary on the windshield, so let's pop to the bonnet view. Thankfully it's not too low. Actually get quite a good view here of the, the intakes. Try and take it easy through these first corners once again. Dunkin' Donut paint job. That's hilarious. Presumably it's going to be the Pagani Zonda at the front again. No? Different cars. The AI is, it seems, more likely to swap vehicles between races, where I tend not to. It's a legit thing that maybe you would want to have a different vehicle for different races. Maybe one suits something with a higher top speed instead. I generally go for more all-round, or just hope to make it work. Braking a bit too much on some of these corners, I think. And almost not enough on that one. Ooh, there we go. What have we got ahead of us? I really can't tell. I should also concentrate on the road more than the cars ahead of us. Otherwise that happens. Okay, now we've got the switchback section, and here I feel is where I am more likely to do well, because this is tuned up more for cornering. That's really cool. I don't know what that is in front, but it is cool. I like it. It's very futuristic. A bit late on the power there. Can I get on the inside? Not quite. He's really wanting to stop me. I'm just going to push him wide and sneak past. Now we just got to hold it together on the downhill. This is a very short track. Crunch. What did I say about holding it together downhill? This is very much a sprint race. It is quite quick to get through. Also the fact that we're doing it in S2 high-rated cars. Not my preferred rating, it must be said. Everything just goes by so quickly. On the plus side, it does mean that championships also go very quickly, so we do get through the races fast, but you're just edge of your seat the whole time. Your margin of error is so much less than in a nice, like, A or B rated vehicle. Oh, that was very wide on that corner. Not good. Let's see if we can catch up a bit through here. So I'm fairly sure it did actually tune this for speed, so the straight should be where we do well. Oh, 25 triple passes. Okay, apparently we've got a triple pass. And then messed up that corner really badly. That's the thing, is I do really well on the straight with the speed, but I'm really bad about knowing where to brake. Even when... Oh, okay, well, you don't need to brake on that corner, dude, but you apparently wanted to, and I just went to the back of you. And another Ferrari. It's got the same sort of rear spoiler bits that I do. This might be another FXXK. Managed to hold it together through that corner, just. Brake a little bit before that bump, because otherwise you can't after you're over the rise, and then you're in a whole world of trouble in that corner. I just keep going wide on these corners. But I feel that if I brake, they're just going to catch up, like I'll be braking too much. I don't know. Well, and, okay, I'm going to rewind that one, because I was focusing too much on going through the nice, like, chicane bend here, and completely missed the fact that, yeah, I actually have to brake for this corner. Because that's a sharp one. Oh, and we're already almost at the finish line. What was I saying about the races going really quickly? Almost too quickly. You don't really get a chance to enjoy yourself. It's just stress. And from one extreme to the other, we're going from Ferrari to Ford Raptor. Where we have a dirt series, and utes and 4x4s. This seemed to be the best one available to us. I could have gone with one of the Lamborghinis, but I have a feeling those are really bad for handling. This probably isn't much better, but... in terms of stats, it was kind of mid-range. This is C rating, by the way. These are not highly rated cars, which is fine. Like I was saying with the S2 extreme track toys, everything goes by so fast and it's just so stressful. This, you feel you've got a little bit more time to react, plan for corners. a little bit more forgiving if you happen to brake a little bit late or a bit early in that case. We haven't tuned anything at all, but the ratings for this car were more on the side of the acceleration and the handling as opposed to top speed. Also, off-road was fairly highly rated, even though it's not even got off-road tyres, but it was 8.9 or something. Pretty good, really. So, it's got good weight distribution, four-wheel drive, obviously. Even for a ute, it actually handles quite well. Must have a lot more just beef over the back wheels, perhaps. Or being four-wheel drive helps, means that the front wheels can provide a little bit of traction as well, so it doesn't matter if it's a little bit light on the back. Ideally, you would put a wing on the back to help force the tray down, given that it's otherwise a little bit on the light side. You also got to consider, like, it seems like you'd have no weight over the rear, being a ute, or pickup, if you will. But at the same time, in a standard car, unless it is a mid or rear-engined car, you don't really have much over the back there. Yeah, you don't have as much of the chassis in terms of the roofline, but beams and roof materials and stuff are so light these days anyway. It doesn't really contribute that much. And it's still got the frame for the tray, and honestly, a lot of them, because they're designed to be working vehicles, the tray is probably reinforced to the point that it probably weighs more than the rear of like a sedan or something anyway. Because they're designed to be able to carry decent load and potentially have a trailer attached and stuff like that. Racing utes are a different beast because they aren't designed to carry anything, so they likely don't have the same reinforcement because they want to save weight. But that does mean that there's less over the rear wheels. But for an actual working car like this, a little bit different equation. And it worked out a pretty good lead, so pretty happy with that. This could do with some upgrades. I would like to give it off-road tyres for a start, though it might just stock have like off-road style tyres as stock. Having off-road tuned suspension and a better diff would be good as well. But other than that, pretty good vehicle, pretty happy with it. It's like the 560 rating or something, so it's got a bit of a ceiling to be able to go up closer to 600. But I don't think I care too much to do so. We can take this into the next race fairly confident. Overbrake for that corner a bit, but nah. Got stuck in the wrong gear too, I think. The gearbox got a bit confused. Probably should have been in second. That would be the other upgrade, probably, would be just the drivetrain. That makes a world of difference in a lot of the vehicles, and being able to tune the gears as well can help. I mean, you can also make an absolute meal out of it. There's been times that I've tried tuning the gears to improve the acceleration, and then just made an absolute mess out of it. If you get the gears too close together, then you spend more time changing gear than you do actually accelerating. That's not useful either. And across the line. Barely fits into shot. On to the next. What is that piece of junk to my right? What the hell is that? It's got tiny, tiny wheels with a massive big, like, spare wheel in the trunk. That makes no sense. It's got, like, space saver wheels. Good for acceleration, I guess. Small wheels are good for acceleration. But not much of anything else. Okay, bit wide on that corner. That's just so hilarious. Things you can do with cars. It's a hideous paint job, or lack thereof. It's a rust job, not a paint job. Of course, the downside to this rating of vehicle is that the races do take longer. It's like 4.5 minutes the last one. This is a sprint as opposed to a series of laps, so it'll probably go a little bit quicker. Might be looking more at like the 3.5, 4 minute. That's why I've said before that I think B rating is kind of the Goldilocks zone. B, sometimes A. Doesn't feel like you're having to push yourself too hard. It's not super stressful. You've got a little bit more room for error, but you tend to be going at higher speeds than in these sorts of vehicles, so the races do go a little bit quicker. Just can't get past these guys. This is where just upgrading the gearbox would have been handy, to be able to have a few more gears perhaps. I feel that 5th is probably all I've got. If I had a couple of extra gears in the mid-range, then it would help me sustain speed through uphill sections. Thankfully we've got nice ride height, barely noticing the water traps that usually bog us down so much on these tracks. That's why I hate it when we get championships where we have to do these sorts of races in like sports cars or sedans or hypercars, because you just dig into the water and go nowhere. But the AI doesn't seem to be as affected as you are. With this one, we've managed to pull ahead once again. Maybe I will do a little bit of tuning. I won't boost it all the way up to 600 probably, but at the very least I am curious whether a different gearbox might help. Okay, we've done a few tweaks. This is now a 584 rating instead of 550 something. It does have a 7-speed gearbox. The last gear is pretty much useless. We can't go fast enough to actually engage 7th. But the key point is having different gearing through the middle. We've been able to customize the ratios. I think I also upgraded the brakes, I can't remember, but that stopped much quicker than I expected. Oops. But yes, the acceleration should be much better. In general, the top end we should now be able to engage into the 6th gear at points if we do have a straight long enough to do so. A little bit of weight saving. We weren't able to change the tyres, or it would have bumped it into a B class immediately. Not surprising, but it's got off-road suspension that we've tweaked a little bit in terms of the ride heights, and firmed up the rear suspension a bit, which helps even more with a bit more of the acceleration. It allows it to keep more power down for longer, doesn't bounce around as much. I keep braking when they do, and I don't have to, because my brakes are better than theirs. Okay, let's just hit you a little bit. Right, ultimate clean racing, yes, that was totally clean. Don't mind me. What else did we change? Can't remember. I mostly tweaked the gear ratios, so it just gets into the mid-range much quicker, and then should be able to get into the top range. And yeah, brakes, definitely. Didn't stiffen the chassis or anything. There isn't even a spoiler that you can put on this. There's just some weird customizations like sticking a big wheel in the boot like that other one had. Just get the kind of street style customizations instead of functional. That's alright. I could have changed the wheel rims probably to be something lighter weight, which also helps with the acceleration and top speed usually as well. There's less rolling resistance when the wheels aren't as heavy. We're only just engaging 6th. So that's that. I think that the gearboxes with more gears are more if you do an engine replacement. If you don't keep it low rating, if you're willing to push it up into like A rating or something, so I'm fairly sure you can swap out the engine for like a V8 or something. But because you have the extra gears at the top end that are expected to be like your cruising gears for high speeds, the lower gears, 4th and 5th, now have a higher ratio. so they're much more capable of sustaining a high speed, even when you're going up hills and stuff. So you get a lot more acceleration out of the corners and everything, which is good. That's the principle anyway. Don't actually know what the numbers are. You'd have to swap out for just a race gearbox that allows you to at least do the tuning, but has the same number of gears, and then swap out for one of the higher ones, and pay attention to what the numbers are when you go to do the customization. But either way, we've got a solid lead, even though I felt that was pretty shaky overall, but over the line. And turns out that was enough to get us over the line for the overall series progress. 162 points, we get our Racer TS. That looks kind of nice. What's the betting that was the extreme track toy that we were meant to use? Right, final championship, hopefully. We shouldn't have to resort to any of the multiplayer events. And the qualification for this one was just 2010's Japan. We could have gone with a nice Mazda, such as what was on the right there. Mazda MX-5 or RX-8 or something like that. Played it safe and just went with the Subaru. Pretz is a pretty safe choice for a lot of these style of races. I think it was just a road race as opposed to having anything off-road, but if in doubt, I do tend to prefer all-wheel drive, even though it does tend to run a little bit wide on the corners, as exhibited back there. But the acceleration out of the bends tends to be better, and just better stability in general. So you've got all the mod cons, traction control, stability control, that sort of thing, so not a huge consideration, but also completely untuned currently. Could have gone with a Nissan 370Z or something like what's ahead of us as well. We'll see if we mix it up. You know, we could always just do a different car. There we go. That's where the all-wheel drive comes in. When you run wide, it's not as bad. Still pretty bad. But not as bad. Oh, crunch, yeah. That's where the lack of tuning comes in. But you don't get the chance to tune anything unless you upgrade it. Because I think a little bit of wheel camber would go a long way. A little bit of diff tuning as well, I think, because by default it's just 50-50. Whereas just fitting a diff that you can just put it to like 60% to the rear tends to be quite good. Tends to result in a bit better cornering. And usually a bit more power as well. Just takes a lot of the strain off the front wheels, or a bit less strain off the front wheels when it comes to trying to accelerate and corner at the same time. Oh, we're hunting these guys down anyway. Gotta hope that we can hold it together and... Oh no, that was bad. That was really bad. We're just gonna stick with it because, yes, we messed up, but it was before another corner anyway, so it was kind of fine. That guy's still on my inside, isn't he? Yeah, he's just pushing me wide. I hate it when I do that. But it did mean that I got the better line on the second time, so just hug that corner, run off a little bit, and then we have a good line for the next one. I suspect he's got a better top speed than me. No? Maybe the other way around. I seem to be outpacing him a bit now. I'm going to make sure that we get through this corner well. Good. Decent run off there. Should have gone a bit wider to cut through this one, but hold it together. And now I've just got to stay ahead across the line. I think I've got the legs on him. That Mazda I don't think has as good a high speed. That was a bit dicey. Certainly a lot less convincing than I would have liked. So you know what? Let's mix it up. And we'll swap it out for the MX-5 after all. And just see how we go. We're downgrading. The Subaru was like a 680, I think, by default. This is only a 620. So some of the other cars might just be natively higher rated than us. But this thing should be a lot more nimble. And this is a twisty-turny circuit track. So nimble, I feel, is the way to go. Also, I think bonnet view is the way to go because it's dark. And even this is still pretty dark. Our headlights could do with upgrading, quite frankly. There we go, now we're catching up to the same sorts of Subarus and such that who were racing in before, so they got the advantage off the line with the all-wheel drive. But we definitely have the advantage in the corners. Looks like there's an RX-8 leading the way. That was another option, did have an RX-8 available as well. But the handling and acceleration stats of the MX-5 are actually better. So I thought we'll just go with that, since I'm not intending on tuning. Just cut this corner ruthlessly there. And then we get this little section through here that they never seem to do very well at. But we can. So let's go straight through there. Barely have to turn on the second one of those corners. This one here, just going to have to wash a little bit wide on. That's alright, we've got a slow corner after it, so it doesn't matter too much if you mess up the first corner if you're going into the second corner anyway, because it slows you down going into a wall or something. So then you can just worry about accelerating out of the next corner. Brakes on this is not too bad. A little bit of a skid out of that one, but otherwise we've been fairly stable on the rear end, haven't slid too much. Yeah, where do I need a brake for this? Out there, seems good. We can just accelerate all the way through. Pulling out a little bit of a lead, not much, but anything is good to have a little bit of a buffer. So now once again through this section here, and this time I don't need to worry about avoiding another car, navigating the same corners, and that lets us pull out more of a lead. One more lap, just got to keep it clean. There we go. Didn't hit the wall that time. That means we did actually have to brake for the next corner though. It's the thing, you get caught out sometimes by navigating a corner well. It's like, I don't know how to handle the next segment. And you actually brake for it, because previously I was hitting that wall before. It's where practice is kind of useful to get, but we rarely get a chance to practice on any of these tracks. We just do them once, like once a week, once a month sometimes. I can't remember if there's like season-specific tracks. I think there might be. I know there was in 4. There was some tracks that I think only existed in like the winter months or the summer months. Not sure if that's the case in this one. Must be with the rivers drying up and everything. Here we go. It's probably not the greatest going over the grass, but it gets us there and across the line. That was quite fun. I like this car. Fun fact, the Subarus that we're against were like rating 660 compared to our 620, just because of their stock rating, it seems. So I took the liberty of upgrading the gearbox, much like we did with the Ute in the previous series. We've upgraded the drivetrain, so we've got racing transmission, so we can play with the gear ratios. Not that there was too much to tweak in that regard, really. But also a little bit on the side of the clutch and don't mind me, suspension. Though nothing all that tunable. I didn't want to tweak it too far because we didn't want to bump up the ratings too much. We ended up about 640 something, I think, just by having race gearbox, better driveline, and racing diff, which makes it a little bit nicer through some of these corners. And it looks like these guys probably did something similar. So the thing is that once you start making upgrades to your car, your opponents essentially do the same thing. It'll import in things of a similar sort of rating. So these RX-8s looks like they've got a little bit more tuning on. They've got a spoiler and stuff. I was wondering whether to put a rear wing on. It would have actually decreased the rating from the 640 or so, because it nukes the top speed a lot when you do put a splitter on the back, or a spoiler on the back, or a splitter on the front, which does then give you more overhead to basically counteract that by making engine upgrades. But I didn't really want to do that. I think it's fine how it is. Half the time you upgrade the engine and then all that happens is you just spin a lot of that power away because it can't put it down without upgrading the tyres. Which I also could have done. I could have given it some semi-slicks, and it would have stayed within the B range, just. But I thought that, well, if I do that, everyone else is going to make more upgrades, and I might then just struggle, because I wouldn't have the power. Also, I couldn't be bothered spending that much money on this, because who knows when I'll next use it again. That's always the tricky thing, is that you can make some upgrades, make your life a little bit easier, harness more of the power of the vehicle, which is nice, but you don't want to go too overboard, because a lot of the time you'll use a car once, and that's about it. Maybe one championship. That said, I've thought that before, and we've got a BMW M3 or something that I did go to town on, and I've since used it for several months worth of races. So sometimes they pay themselves off. You do really have to dedicate to using it though, like, you've got to notice that, oh, this car is available for this championship, and specifically use that one because you know that you've put the work in already. And you can certainly make it worth your while casually, like when you're not doing the festival playlist content, just working your way through the normal racing series, and if you're doing any of the rivals events especially, then you can use that sort of car in those, so you're more comfortable with the vehicle that way. It's good practice too, doing the rivals. That way you can just focus on just getting around the track and learning the corners. It's what I would do if I was taking this game much more seriously. But for now, this will be the final championship of the series. And finally, to get the last couple of points we need, I think it's time to pull out a rally monster and earn 3 air skills in any dirt race. We could also visit the mural, but that seems a bit too easy. And because I'm a fan of irony, we're going to be using the car that we're actually meant to be winning in order to achieve this. So we're after a crash landing skill. I actually don't know how I'm going to manage to do that while in the race, but we can get it afterwards. But the 3 air skills during a dirt race, well, there's one of them. So that's easy enough. We don't actually have to win the dirt race either, thankfully, because I have no idea whether I will or not. This track is not what I'm very good at, as a rule. But it's one that I knew that I could get the air skills quite easily. So we might even get them on the first lap. And I mean, we're going to try and win no matter what, don't you worry. But if we can also work our way towards a crash landing skill, that would be fun. But I think for crash landing, I'm not sure, but I think you have to hit something as you come off a jump. Makes sense, right? Crash landing. But on a racetrack, there's not usually that much stuff to hit as you come off a jump. I mean, we just hit those signs, so maybe we can get some more of those. We are just drifting our way. I'm sure this is meant to be all-wheel drive, but we are just drifting an awful lot. And not actually making our way through the field. If anything, we're losing places, which is concerning. Ooh, okay, yeah. Of course he was going to brake super hard for the corner. Fairly sure we've got our air skills, right? Air skills in a dirt race is all we needed? Supposedly. Oh, I need to aim to the left there, and then I should be able to hit one of those signs. And that should give me the crash landing skill. But we should also try and work on our racing a bit better. Those people just went off and didn't even turn. That's concerning. It's especially concerning that they then overtook me previously. But, well, that says a lot more about my skill level than it does theirs. My cornering isn't exactly the greatest either. They have my sympathies. I don't get enough air off those jumps to be able to get a crash landing off the signs, I don't think. But it's just after that first jump. That seems to be more likely. This is where we just go so wide and we just get caught up on again. We're just going so sideways. This thing is rubbish. I don't want to win another one of these. It's not good. It's just as well I don't need to win this race, otherwise I would be despairing. But also just this track. I never do well on. That's okay. Now, we want to go off on an angle here. Can we hit one of those things? Yes, yes, yes. I think we went too far. I actually need to... Yeah, I need to not go as fast. Okay, lift off there. Oh, I think I missed. About the right speed, 172. Oh, no, we just missed it again. Okay. Aim just to the right of the flag and go over at about 170-ish. Boom, come on, that's gotta be crash. There we go, crash landing. Perfect. What a waste of time, but that's fine. And there's no way we haven't got 3 air skills by now. Interestingly, it doesn't pop up to say that you've accomplished the daily challenges while in a race. So we won't know until after we've finished. But I am quite positive that we've gotten those. And we're going to finish in 6th, which is horrific. But let's just say our mind's been on other things. And I haven't really tuned this vehicle. I wouldn't have expected to have to. But for some reason it's just not really cornering very well. I'm getting drift tap skills though, which is nice. And lots of drift skill points, so I guess that's good. But I think it needs a better diff, maybe? I'm also not even sure if it's got off-road tyres. Anyway, that should do. We didn't need to win. There we go, festival playlist, modern monsters complete. And Mudslinger as well, fantastic. And that gives us the 40 points to win a second number 14 Ford Fiesta, hard to find. I already have one. I don't know where I got it, but I do already have one. Well, now I have 2, and I don't want either of them. With that, we have finished the season and the series. Modern Horizons has come to a finish. Coming soon, next week, tomorrow, we have Horizon Cars and Coffee, which is interesting. They've teased about this. The coffee shop location will be another evolving Horizons location with some new cars, new collectible, new clothing. You can dress up as a coffee cup, apparently. All that and more coming next week. For now, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you then.